everybody. Chris McCabe of e-commerce. Chris, today talking to Josh Hadley of Hadley Designs. Josh and I usually have so many wonderful things to talk about. This might go slightly longer than the typical one, but it's just because Josh is a smart and talented and handsome fella. So, Josh, welcome back.
Chris, man, maybe you could have used the handsome fella back when I was like in my early 20s and actually had hair. Now it's just,
now you're in your early 30s.
Celebrating another birthday coming up in a couple days. And I told the team, I was like, everybody's like, hey, happy early birthday. And I was like, yeah, it just means more gray hairs and I'm losing more hair. So
you're 31. That's what I'm going to say.
Little older, but.
And I don't care if that's accurate. It's how you look. So let's start. Exciting new year, new you. Some of the same problems that brands have had from last couple of years. I can go through my laundry list of what we're seeing, but you have been active on the speaker circuit. You've been attending a couple of different events. I think you were at the Austin event in November that I almost made it to, but not quite. So I want to hear a bit about that, but just the broad spectrum of what you're hearing in an age of higher fees, cost crunches, intense competition, agency switches. Some people are calling and talking to us like, hey, we're thinking of changing agencies. And I'm like, okay, we're not full service, but there just seems to be a lot of turbulence and a lot of uncertainty that's leading people sometimes to make rash decisions, sometimes making no decision and sticking with what they've got. What are you hearing and seeing out there as far as what brands are strategizing this year?
Yeah, Chris, beginning in 2024, I feel like you began to hear this like Amazon's getting harder. And then last year with tariffs, it only made things that much harder on Amazon because guess what? The overseas competitors, they're not impacted by the tariffs. They've got their loopholes. They're working around it. They're not getting penalized by the government. So it's like all of those margin compression issues that you were facing in 2024 only got exacerbated in 2025. And now here we are, brand new year 2026. And guess what? Amazon's only getting harder. Fees are going up. They're definitely recruiting more overseas sellers, right? Yeah. They had a massive event. We think it's nice when they have their Accelerate event here in Seattle. Yeah. It's like they went all out for China. Like took Accelerate to another level compared to what it's at here in the US. So do you think Amazon's getting easier or harder? Like my prediction, Amazon is trying to incentivize kind of race to the bottom pricing because it's better for the platform, right? It's better for the Amazon customer at the end of the day. And so that's ultimately what Amazon is trying to focus on is like, hey, we're trying to serve our customer. Customers want lower prices. Inflation is still rampant. Mm-hmm. And so with that being said, Amazon's I think there's a big component of their ranking algorithm that definitely favors lower prices. And we see that anytime we just lower a price, we'll get a ranking boost. We haven't changed anything else, but just by lowering the prices, I'm going to get an organic ranking boost. So there's something being said with that. So Chris, you might be asking like, okay, so what do you do in 2026? Amazon's getting harder, not only from a margin compression standpoint, but my goodness, this is turning into a bureaucratic nightmare of just having to get my listings approved now. Mm-hmm. I relish the days back in 2014 when I could go buy some random UPC code off of eBay, stick it on Amazon, and I'm up and selling who knows what. Any supplement, knives. Now, is that good for the consumer? No. And I knew like eventually this day of reckoning would come. And to be honest with you, frankly speaking, like from an Amazon customer's perspective, it's about darn time that this happens. Yeah. But a lot of people are panicking. A lot of people in the supplement space, it's like, my listing's being taken down. And it's like, go figure out what you need to do to go get this approved, right? Like Amazon's been very clear. It's not like Amazon's making this vague and you have to jump through 1,000 different hoops. It's like, no, go do the exact same level of testing that would be required to put your product on GNC's store shelves. Yeah. But now you're doing the same thing for Amazon. And so I hear everybody like they're complaining about the toys. Toys need now their certifications. Supplements need their certifications. And people are all up in arms about it. Whereas I lean into it with my team and I say, this is good. This is great.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Not only is it better for the consumer, that's a separate story. This is good because guess what? All the weak players, they're starting to drop out of the race because they're like, ah, man, Amazon just used to be a place where I could go make a quick buck. I could go flip something, find something on Alibaba, spin it. Here's a quick cash, 100K. Sweet. I'm in, I'm out. That's a lot harder now than it used to be a decade ago. And so, because of that, what is Amazon shifting towards? It's shifting towards like being a platform where if you have a real brand, this becomes just a distribution channel. It's not the end all be all for your business, which so many of us that got started, myself included, it used to just be like Amazon only. That's where I make all my profit. But what I'm seeing now, if I read the tea leaves, if you're just only living on Amazon, anticipate your brand going down year over year unless you are just exceptional at product development and launch and can continue to come out with new products and beat the Chinese with lower prices. If you can do that, then great. Amazon's still a great place. If you don't want to play the margin game and low cost, then it's time to build a real brand. And we can talk a little bit more about that. But that's what I'm hearing, Chris. It's more about like the certifications of stuff. And that's where most people are getting issues. I mean, what are you hearing on your side?
Yeah, well, I mean, agreed on the event in China, or events in general in China are like Accelerate on steroids, right? There's a reason for that. And no slight on the Accelerate event in Seattle. I go to that every year. But clearly they are attracting these international players that can produce things more cheaply and, keep prices where Amazon kind of wants to keep them. You can't artificially set prices, but there are ways of making sure that a certain type of product, like a supplement, I mean, consumable sellers who complain to you about compliance, regulation, and documentation, they probably shouldn't be in consumables if they're complaining to you about that, whether they're supplements or something else. But the trends are clear. I think we're past the point of debating whether or not sellers in China or elsewhere are going to be eating the lunch of some American or European-based brands. That's already happening. It's been happening. There's a reason why a huge percentage of sellers in the US marketplace are based in China, right? So I think this year is turning the page into like, look, we know what the challenges are. What are you going to do about it? The last 2 years, I agree with you, since 2024, we've kind of been saying, do we agree on the challenges? What are they? How do we identify them? How do we define them? How do we strategize around them? Now it's kind of like there's a certain amount of strategizing around you can do. The rest of it's just hitting it head on, making sure you run a tight ship. There's going to be marketplace consolidation. Smaller brands that cut corners are the ones who are going to fall away. And if you're a bigger brand who's cutting corners, that's a different problem. You're not allocating resources appropriately and you're not focused on compliance. I mean, I guess my short answer is, why are people cutting corners and expecting to survive on today's Amazon? Because compliance teams are clearly more robust. They're clearly paying more attention to detail. There are some brands who contact us who are just a mess and they want our help with an appeal. And I just say, you can't appeal this yet. You have to do a couple steps to mop up the mess from before you appeal it. And we'll hear back from them, like, well, we didn't do what you suggested, but somehow we got our listing back. I mean, we do hear those crazy edge case stories occasionally, but not like 2024 or last year. It's crackdown mode. Well, what that just tells me, long story short, that tells me Amazon knows who they want, knows who they don't want, and they're just attaching those filters to each category to see who squeezes out,
Yeah.
So,
no, I would totally agree. And I think that at the end of the day, Chris, the best frame of mindset that I think any seller needs to have right now is just like, what do the big brands do? And that's how I need to behave. Because if you still look at this as like the Amazon of 2015, when like almost anything goes, you could spin up a product really quick, like it's just gone. And if that's your frame of mindset, like, man, you're going to be kicking at the pricks for a long time. So the best thing to do is adapt. And that's where I say, like, when it gets hard, say good, because this is going to be where your next breakthrough comes through. And it has been for our business, because 2024 was honestly a bad year for us. Mm-hmm. And we have since been able to like course correct. And man, we were able to slingshot forward in 2025, but only because of like the breakthroughs that we found in 2024.
Yeah. Do you still have conversations with people at this or that event? I'm not saying all events are equal or even focused in the same areas, because some events now are like almost 100% AI focused versus brand management or brand development. Are you still talking to people who are like talking about keyword stuffing versus using AI tools? I mean, are those basic conversations taking place where you just say, look, you have to change all these old school tactics or you'll be left behind? Or they've already been left behind and they're struggling to keep up? Is that kind of where it goes?
Yeah, I think that honestly, like things are already being left behind. Here's what's really fascinating. If you take a look at like some of the most like legacy conferences and mastermind groups and what they're talking about and preaching, you have Kevin King, who's been kind of like an Amazon OG from day one, early 2010s. Okay,
Yep.
great. What is his like, what's he pitching and really focused on as of late? It's not TikTok Shop. It's not Shopify. It's Amazon and AI, right? And it's where is agentic commerce headed? And is that the next kind of like breakthrough where there's going to be massive arbitrage? I do agree that like if you can get ahead of this game and be listed in the LLMs and you get into first mover advantage for agentic commerce will be massive. So that's where Kevin King's going. What about like you've got MDS, $1 million sellers group. Okay. Historically have been like just people crushing it on Amazon. Guess what that's turning into? More people crushing it on TikTok Shop is where
Yep.
that group is like more focused on right now. And with a little bit of AI, that's fine. And a little bit of Shopify here and there. But they're trying to expand and be more of like $1 million sellers e-commerce in general. Like it's no longer Amazon sellers. It is now how do we branch out and be like Shopify, TikTok. So it's just interesting to read those tea leaves. Same things happening at the Prosper Show. This was the OG Amazon seller conference back in the day. It was the first one where Amazon sellers were gathering. Well, guess what? Now, if you go look at the speaker list, it's people talking about how to create AI UGC influencers, right? And then you've got people talking about TikTok Shop. You have people talking about Shopify and digital marketing strategies for Facebook and Meta. And so it's like, okay, obviously, like the tea leaves are like, if you're just a one trick pony on Amazon, that's not cutting it anymore. All of the brands that are moving the needle are being able to diversify and move things off platform. So that's what I think is going on.
Hybrid approach. I think it's setting in now. Last year was just a frenzy of information. I think the paint is starting to dry on a few of these things, and people are moving into action mode, not assessment mode. I mean, assessment before action is always a good idea, but now I think it's setting in, not just the slate of speakers at events. I think people are starting to understand if they're going to compete, it's not just let's grab an agency and figure out how they want to keyword stuff versus how I was keyword stuffing, or come up with tricks where they're going to merge different ASIN variations in order to harvest a few extra reviews, which Amazon recently kind of took out of the game. I think the era of short-lived tips and tricks is kind of finally going away. I know that's always going to be there in some way, shape, or form. But I think a lot of the people who are hopscotching between agencies that we talk to, it's for that reason. They're looking for kind of a new approach that they can't generate themselves. And the old school versus new school, the old school approaches are just, fundamentals are fine, but the old school approaches for gathering eyeballs and keeping attention on your product and marketing it and utilizing something like TikTok Shop, the old school doesn't speak to any of that in a meaningful way. But the wind it up and let it go approach on Amazon, where it's just an easy layup of 2017. I mean, that's a long time ago now, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know what you were doing in 2017. We were doing this. So we saw, you know, we weren't doing substantially different services then than now. So we've seen the evolution from our perspective, from our corner. And compliance is a big part of it. One of the reasons for our upcoming New York event on February 12th that we're focused so much on compliance. And also another reason why I'm making sure there's a member of Amazon's teams there to do some Q&A with me is because Amazon also understands the hurdles too. Amazon's attitude's changed a little bit too from, oh, I don't know, these are the rules, you go figure it out. We're not going to really be there to answer questions. Now they understand that they have a different role to play and that they need to be a bit more engaging. That's, I think, one positive for this year is additional support being offered, not in the form of, if you went to Accelerate in 2024, they were talking about support escalations and, elevated support to get listings reinstated faster. I mean, that's all kind of switched over to AI too. So that's all fallen by the wayside. Amazon's adapting too. They know they can't just stand still. And so if Amazon's adapting, you can't ignore what their compliance teams want from you, but you can also seek out other parties within Amazon internal teams to get some questions answered because they're paying more attention, because they are more serious. So it's the typical good news, bad news. Sometimes I look at events to see who from Amazon is going to be there and from what teams. So that's kind of a yardstick you can use to figure out where you want to attend and where you might not attend. Is it an Amazon team that's going to help you, navigate and strategize some of these particular paths, or is it the same old people that were there 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think that having contacts at Amazon is important, right? And it's such a large corporation that just because you know somebody on the ads team, they're probably not going to have much help for you on the account help team.
Yeah.
But to your point, though, Chris, is like if you have somebody that's in the compliance area, right, and you're struggling with compliance, I'm making a beeline to that event to develop a relationship where I could actually talk with somebody.
Yeah.
And honestly, Chris, like that's like just good business fundamentals. And as we talk to the listeners, like I think one of the key things to really elaborate on is where are you at with your business? A lot of people have treated Amazon like this side hobby, and it was always pitched as this get rich quick, go enjoy retirement on the beach type of thing. And for those of us that have been around it long enough, we know that that's completely false. This is such an active business. However, I am still astonished to hear this over and over again, Chris. The amount of time that people spend on their business is frankly appalling. And then they wonder why this is going wrong or why they're having this issue, because like they genuinely are treating this still like a side project. They think this is like a rental property that just is like cash flowing for them that shouldn't have any bigger issues. And then they assign things to their VA, expecting their VA to handle things. Like I can't tell you the number of times like that is
Unreal.
what I hear. And then people will drop it in comments of like, hey, I'm ready to exit my business. I only spend 2 hours a week on it. And I'm like, dude, I don't want your business. If you've only been spending 2 hours a week on this business, like that's not a badge of like credibility or like, oh, kudos to you. I see that as like red flag. This guy's been freaking moonlighting and watching his numbers go down. And now he's like, ah, crap. The writing's on the wall. I've been too reactive in this business. Now I just got to get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting. I know we're seeing each other relatively soon at Prosper, and you're speaking at the event in Nashville, and I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to make it to that. We've got our thing in New York coming up soon. It'll be interesting to talk to you in person about some of what you see in the next 5-6 weeks from some of the people you talk to at events or clients in terms of messaging from Amazon. Is it different? How do they react to it? Is there any compliance documentation requested that isn't at hand, that they don't have right there ready to send in? Because they typically don't give you that many hours or days to send it before they take the listing down. And just things like that, we don't have to touch on this podcast, but review manipulation keeps cycling around in smaller circles, right? In terms of it comes up every 2 months instead of every 9 months or every 6 months. We went through it up until peak Q4, it went away, and now it's back again with people getting suspended for inserts and things like that.
What are people doing with that, Chris? Like, are people actually including inserts that say like, leave me a review? Or like, what inserts are you seeing that are the problem?
People are fundamentally understanding the reason that whole enforcement team exists is to stop incentives. So there's this side dance. I mean, the shortest way to describe it is people still believe through a variety of avenues of misinformation being spread out there that you can give product away as long as you don't specifically ask for a review, but that's still an incentive. The problem is the incentive. It's not how you ask. Did you ask or did you not ask? There's plenty of accounts suspended for people who gave away gift cards, had a QR code go to some sort of discount special offer. The only thing that really changed big time last year was Amazon punishing people for trying to harvest email addresses or asking for shipping information so that you could send them a free product. And a lot of people said, well, we're only asking for the shipping address to send a free product, but we're not asking for a review. It's just a thank you. Doesn't work like that. If it ever did, and maybe a few years ago it did, not anymore. So all incentives need to be drained out of the system. All of the service providers I see out there, not all of them, I shouldn't say that, 3 or 4 main ones that have been reported to me lately, the incentives are still there. So those service providers are signing up all these brands, but the incentives aren't dealt with. It's avoided. And they just say, well, as long as you don't ask for a review, or as long as you don't ask for a positive review, or as long as you ask for an honest review, you're okay. That's incorrect. Yeah. So I've spent the first, 5 weeks of this year focused on pushing people to understand that the incentive is what has to go, not all the moving the chairs around.
So Chris, just to reiterate on this topic, because I hear this a lot in the other groups, people are always like, can I include a QR code on my package? And it's like, look, the problem is not the QR code in and of itself. It's where you're taking them. So Chris, to reiterate this, my understanding has always been, hey, if you have a tutorial video or instructions manual or something like that needs to coincide with your product, if that QR code goes to the tutorial or the instructions manual, fine. But make sure you're not talking about reviews. You're not trying to offer them something for free, no free product, no gimmicks. It's here's your PDF. Just like if you bought something from IKEA, here's your instructions manual, right?
Right.
Or vice versa, if you have a product warranty and they can register for their extended warranty or something like that. Is that basically it?
It's the same conversation as, can I offer a warranty or not? Same exact question, which is, are you using the warranty as a gateway to some special offer or discount or giveaway? Is the tutorial video taking them to your website where there's also a bunch of free gift offers and incentives and giveaways? Is it being used as a gateway? Technically, if there's a tutorial video that they need in order to operate the product, that's supposed to be in the materials that are inside the packaging when they open the thing up. That's the letter of the law. Do I see people who have QR codes that link to more info about the product where there are no incentives, there are no giveaways or discounts or special offers? Do I see sellers like that who aren't punished for review manipulation? Yeah, of course I do. It's always been kind of a haphazard mishmash of inconsistent enforcement. You have to ask yourself as a brand owner, what are you ready to risk? And if you think that there's an incentive somewhere or a gateway to an incentive, and I've had people say, well, there's no incentive up front, but down the road, there's an incentive offered. Can't be any incentives anywhere in the system. Clearly, Amazon's fed up with the whole topic. The FTC's fed up with it. Sometimes the FTC prods and bugs Amazon. Sometimes Amazon doesn't need prodding. They do it on their own. I think that's just, they view it as incomplete or lazy marketing, and they want people to not be so obsessed with getting reviews with these tips and tricks. I mean, that's my take on it. And I've talked to brand development people, seller success teams, that whole side of the equation. When I'm here in Seattle, I'm having those meetings, talking to those people. And I've also dealt with people who at least directly or indirectly deal with PRA, the product review enforcement or abuse teams at Amazon. And you don't even need to talk to PRA teams. You can tell by enforcement and suspensions where they come out on this stuff. And it's just, we're past that point. So if it's in-house marketing you're doing or an agency you're working with, and they're relying on those types of tactics, and they're like, yeah, it's fine, I'll explain to you why it's TOS compliant, they're probably just sugarcoating it if there's an incentive there that they're avoiding talking about.
So. Yeah, man, my recommendation to anybody that listens to this thing, just avoid reviews like the plague. Just avoid them with a 10-foot pole, to be honest with you, because Amazon's got their way of asking for customers for reviews. You don't even want to dance in that area, not in the least bit. So that's what I would say when I say, Chris, that like brands need to focus on like act like one of the bigger brands. Do you think that like Tide, Procter and Gamble is like, oh hey, we really need to get better reviews
Yeah.
for our new laundry detergent? Heck no, they don't care. They're all about distribution, right? And so guess what? Follow that. What are the big brands doing? Like they're not trying to game the system. They're not trying to make a quick buck on Amazon. They're all about product distribution. So that's what I think the business owners, like if you're going to spend your time dinking around with product reviews and how do we inch this up or that up, like that means you just need to go create a better product. But B, take that same time and energy to go get additional distribution for your product, whether that's maybe it's retail, maybe it's Shopify, maybe it's TikTok Shop. Like there's so many avenues and channels for you.
Yeah.
Like why, like Amazon's now, and they're making it very well known that it's like, guys, like if you're just here to game the system, like this is very short lived. But I'm a guy that like, I want to build a brand that could go to $100 million. I want to build a brand that like, if I want to hand it down to my kids, I can. But if you're the type of seller that's like, hey, I'm trying to game this review, I just need to get to 4.6 stars. So I'm going to do this, and this. Guess what? That ain't going to be around for your kids to pass down to. I can guarantee you that.
Good note to end on. I like that. Very elegant. And I agree. I agree with everything you said. Think like Procter & Gamble, not like some cookie cutter supplement brand that you found that you think you want to duplicate on Amazon. How can people get in touch with you, reach you? They like your ideas. They love hearing your voice. They want to hear it more. Best way to reach Josh Hadley.
Yeah, so the best way is if you want to go to ecombreakthrough.com. That's ecom with 2 M's. I have a podcast called Ecom Breakthrough. You can check out the website or find your podcast platform of choice and find me there and listen to me. I share actionable strategies to scale from 7 to 8 and even 9 figures. And you're following my journey on our path to a 9-figure business. And what are the action items that we're implementing in our own brand that you could then do for yourself?
I think we all want 9-figure businesses. So that's good. Enticing. I like it. Thanks for taking your time talking to us today. And thanks for everybody listening. And we will catch you next time.